Kim has just informed us that he's been spending the entire podcast looking at eBay for mining motherboards. Mining motherboards are friggin' stupid, and I love them.
I need more motherboards to hang on the wall.
Wait, no, sorry, he didn't say motherboards. He said cards, didn't he?
Yeah.
So okay, that's slightly different. Yeah, the mining cards.
Yeah, so in the periods of time where I was not speaking, Kim and I were just kind of like like in DM, just chatting about the mining GTX 1060s.
Yeah, those ones. Can you get those for unfolding at home?
Well, so there was a period of time where folding at home would not run unless the graphics card had a detected display out. However,
very silly.
Well, yeah, but that was due to the rudimentary coding that they were initially running it on. And I'm talking about like the 2012 through 2015 era of.
Oh, yeah, that's fine then.
Now, allegedly, they've made a fix, and I kind of forgot because on my folding rigs, I do use HDMI dummy plugs just because.
Yeah, those are cool. You can get like a 5-pack of those for $10.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I did, right? So the issue I had was if I would like remote into the system and I forgot to enable RDP, when I remote to the system defaults to 360p. 4:3 resolution, and that's just a pain in the ass to do any sort of management on. So I got these 1080p dummy plugs. It just jam it in there, so when I remote into it, it defaults to 1080p. It works great, but I remembered that on my AMD folding rig, because I've got a Fury X and a Vegas form that thing. I only have one dummy plug, and both GPUs work just fine. So my theory is that those mining 1060s will actually work, despite them not actually having any display out slots.
I think GPUs. The problem is with the drivers and verifying the GPU. I recall there being some issues, but I don't remember the details. I think you can actually get them set up to be used with like gaming if you. What you can do, it's like, what is it, NVIDIA Optimus, right? It's used in laptops a lot, where you just route the display out through the integrated graphics display out.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think you can get that to work with the with those cards.
So my suggestion was actually just jam in a regular graphics card as your primary display out, and then just load it up with a bunch of these mining 1060s. As secondary GPUs, and if you just install the gaming driver, thank you. That's what I was looking for. It should work fine, and that if it's a firmware issue, you could always just do a BIOS flash on those 1060s. Because I feel like somebody actually soldered on a DVI out onto one of those mining GPUs, and they had
what? Do they just wait? Do they just recycle the same PCB?
Yes.
Like it's got all the solder pads in place. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you have to reflash the firmware to make make the graphics card function the way it's supposed to. But yeah, it's still a time. Okay, so let me look at this case real quick, because this is one of those 6 GPU mining cases.
Okay, so I was looking at it and I thought, because I was looking for something, relatively compact, and saw that and I thought, oh, happy days. And plus I can fit in a regular ATX motherboard, one of the mining motherboards, which again I can pick up for like 40-50 quid. With the in fact the one I was looking at was the B2. It was one of the BioStar B250, and it had like 19 of those like PCI Express 1 slots. And the Ryzen cards are like bugger all on eBay anyway.
Yeah, honestly, I would advise. Yeah, the board's too expensive, but I really like the mining boards that have those like USB Type A cables in them that carry the PCI Express signal, just because I've used PCI Express risers before, like those little ribbon cables. They ain't very good. I don't trust them to stay in place.
Yeah, and isn't those USB 3.0 cables, aren't they twisted pair cables?
Oh yeah, no, like it is a shielded twisted pair, to the best of my knowledge, that is rated to carry a 5 gigabit per second signal. Like,
which is why you don't get cheap USB extension cables, because they are absolutely not twisted pair.
Yeah, I mean, like these ones are totally non-standard. It's Type A to Type A. I think some of them might use Type B socket. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's mining. You're not using standard hardware at all. I mean, hell, you can get like power supplies that are advertised as 90 plus, as if that's a real thing and not just trying to one up 80 plus, which is a real specification.
So referencing that board that you just linked, so I managed to pick up the Asus B250 mining board for $25. So I mean, it may have just been a timing thing for me, but it still is a fully functioning board, and I may have or may not have spent more money on the CPU than I did the actual motherboard, which was a $35 CPU.
Hey, while I'm on eBay, let's see if that one SSD is still up, just kind of as an aside. Corsair, oh, cool. The Corsair accelerator is still up. So TLDR on this, circa like 2011, 2012, there were a bunch of SSDs that were released that used a specific kind of caching software. I don't remember what it's called now. So that caching software, the company that made it was purchased by Samsung. The company that made it issued one last patch to it, which got rid of the need for a product key, which was tied to the like SSD hardware in question.
Yep.
And so like, because they were taking off their verification servers offline, so this way, if anybody gets one of these drives in the future, they can still use the software. And Samsung got rid of that software off their site, and it's not archived from archive.org. It's also vendor specific, so Corsair has a unique executable, Mushkin has a unique executable, OCZ has a unique executable. It appears to just be an 8-character string that differentiates them, so if you go in with a hex editor, you can hack it. But anyway, so one of these drives, which I've been looking at because, well, it's one of like 6 drives that uses cache software, is a genuine Corsair Accelerator Series 45 gigabyte solid state cache drive SSD. This is on eBay right now for 35 United States dollars with $5 economy shipping. For that amount of money, I can almost buy an SSD that is more than 10 times the size. Like 480 gig SSDs are like $50 when they go on sale. 512 gig SSDs, they're about $50 on sale. And
that's the one you had me bid on, right?
Yeah, and he also had me bid on it.
Yeah, so I got Simmons and Jack to just like send this guy some lowball offers of like $10. I mean, I flat out told him the controller in this thing is so old that it's still SATA 2. Like it's pre-SATA 3 SandForce. This was before like SandForce was usable. It's piss. It's terrible. And this guy wants $35 plus shipping, and he doesn't like my lowball offers of $15. $15 is generous.
So for any of our listeners, if anybody's still listening by this point, please just buy this thing to make Chris really mad.
What's the other one? OCZ Revo Drive Hybrid. That was another one. So the Revo Drive Hybrid, I've just been doing like stuff with Revo drives. I screwed up because there was one for $60 and I sat on it too long and somebody else snatched it up.
What's a Revo drive?
So Revo Drive was OCZ's brand for their high-end PCI Express SSDs. Basically, they are RAID arrays of SATA SSDs on one circuit board. The Revo Drive Hybrid is no different, but instead of having a bunch of flash chips and flash controllers soldered down, it has fewer flash chips and flash controllers, and one of those SATA ports on this little like RAID controller that actually, hooks up to your computer. One of those instead goes to a daughter board that a laptop hard drive plugs into. So you can use it as a hybrid. You get like a RAID 0 SandForce SSD setup, and then you have a basic laptop hard drive, and it gets used as a cache drive. It's nifty, and I want one.
So yeah. That was it. I was just looking at I found one of those motherboards for mining that has all just like the USB ports. And that's like double the price. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, granted, the little PCI kind of one-times adapters that go in those slots will be like kind of loose. I'm just going to use a glue gun.
I mean, yeah, it works.
I mean, it's a bit ghetto, but I mean, but
that's the beauty of this kind of build, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a mining box. Like, this is a kind of thing where, like, honestly, the fact that you're looking at actual cases and you're not just saying, "I want a milk crate," that in and of itself is
you're already doing better than
occasion. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've just been informed by my other half that I actually gave my glue gun away, so I'll have to buy a new one. I'm such a twat.
Your words, not mine.
I mean, at least you're self-aware. That's all that I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm a sentient being.
So Jack, have you been doing any hardware projects lately?
Nope. The only thing I've been working on was those Doom HDR videos for like the past week.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've already showed you the hot box, and I think I showed you that when I was super inebriated one night, so that was fun.
Oh yeah.
But like that was the closest thing I had to a hard. Oh yeah, no, actually, I have to complain. I had to buy a new Netgear dumb switch today, like a couple of days ago, because I've got gig Ethernet over DOCSIS 3.1 to my apartment, which is wonderful. So the issue is, so I've got a Cisco 2960 switch as my primary network switch, but then I have a 30-foot Cat6 cable running across the room over to my desktop. Well, I also have my Nintendo Switch, which also is on the same side of my room as the desktop, and also my my Fire Stick. I use one of those Ethernet adapters as well.
Simmons, is your Nintendo Switch a 10 gigabit switch, or is it just gigabit?
I'm gonna beat you. So I'm gonna beat you actually. But so needless to say, I needed 3 Ethernet cables across the room, and I figured, you know what? And rather than doing that, I'm just going to get my old Cisco dumb switch that I had, and I'm going to just plug my desktop and my Fire Stick and my Nintendo Switch into it, and it'll be great. Well, no, my download speed was averaging around 300 meg from my desktop.
Wow.
And then when I would run the same speed test from my server, it was at 900 meg. But no, and it turned out what it was is that Cisco dumb switch that I had before. I was just overloading the buffer cache, but despite the thing being advertised as being able to support 10 gigabit internal throughput, it could not handle it to a single output. So yeah, I had to go get a little Netgear $20 switch from Best Buy, and due to the shelter in place order from my state, Best Buy had a little tent set up in front of the store with 2 unfortunate employees in masks who would have to hand deliver your items out to your car if you ordered something.
Can you imagine being that sucker?
I mean, honestly, that was probably a best case scenario because I was driving by a Little Caesars when I was going to the ghost doctor appointment last Thursday.
Thank you for calling it that.
For context, Chris made a discovery that chiropractors were the original chiropractor believed that he got his knowledge about chiropractics from ghosts.
Yeah, he had a dream with a ghost in it, and that's how he learned how to fix backs, and that's why it's a pseudoscience.
So anyway, no, I was driving by this Little Caesars, and there was a poor employee holding a sign that said "Order online," and that guy has been standing there during his 8-hour shift for the past 2 weeks.
Oof.
Like, it's the same exact person, and I feel so bad.
They could replace him with a stick. They could replace him with a signpost.
No, but no, I know exactly what it is. That's all about like emotional marketing, because you feel bad for the guy out there. So it's like, oh boy, I better support that business. It's like,
I better support that business that's making this guy stand outside during a pandemic.
To get back to the network thing, I had to troubleshoot a similar thing with my network because I thought like my router wasn't able to actually get my gigabit.
Yeah.
Every single time I ran speed test, it was like sometimes 300, sometimes 700, sometimes I would get 800. It was just all over the place.
Yeah.
So I installed like, was it probably like pfSense or, some desktop router thing on one of my computers. And I connected it directly to the modem. And then I only connected one thing to that computer. And I was getting the same exact speeds that I would get from my router. So I was just like, well, it's not my router. It's just my ISP being weird, even though this is fiber to the home.
Yeah, so like that's what I ended up noticing essentially. If you use the DSL report speed test, they actually show you the buffer bloat rating, which is really nifty, but also very misleading because buffer bloat is kind of meaningless if it is your ISP. And there's not a whole lot that you can do about it, especially since the ISP that I'm going through is a smaller ISP, so they're just limited on hardware anyway. So the fact that I'm getting the 900 meg to the home is still fantastic. I'm not going to complain.
Definitely.
You should, Simmons. You should.
But what I found out was I actually had to change a few settings on my interfaces. I actually had to set up a because I'm using pfSense on a Xeon CPU. What is it? It is a E3 1240 V5 3.5 gigahertz CPU.
So Skylake i7.
Yep.
Just to put it in perspective.
Yep. It's a great little CPU, and pfSense actually does a really good job at making it run at full frequency without having to change BIOS settings.
What were you using before that again? Because I remember.
Well, but I'll go to that because that's funny, but I don't want to tangent too much. So I actually had to change some QoS settings on my firewall. Yeah, so it is associated with what is it? Give me a moment. I'm trying to.
I thought you were going to say something like you were going to have to change like the receive and the transfer buffer or something like the packet size.
No, initially I did try playing around with the MTU size because default MTU is 1500 and you can increase that to accept bigger jumbo frames. But if the other end can't handle the 1500 MTU, you kind of break more things than you're fixing. You're actually going to be reducing a lot of throughput because the other side will just block those jumbo frames. No, it was actually packet prioritization QoS that I had to change. It was where is it? It was I don't even know what setting this was anymore, and I literally just fixed this 2 days ago.
Did you basically just have to make like general traffic a higher priority than something else or something like that?
Give me a moment. I'm pulling it up right now. So no, it's actually in the traffic limiter window of pfSense, and I had to change the queue management algorithm to Codel, which is just a better algorithm anyway. So I switched it over to Codel. I had to change the scheduler to quick fair queuing and then increase the queue length to 20,000, where the system default is I think 1,500.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then once you've configured the queue management algorithm, then you actually have to set up a queue in addition in order to make the firewalls. They're calling it QoS. I mean, I guess technically it is, but unless you configure the queue, you can't set up a floating rule. No, my original pfSense router, which is actually my dad's current router, is an old Dell Dimension 8400.
But yeah, networking stuff is fun because it could drive you insane, and then you realize it wasn't my fault this whole time.
Well, see, I get into this other point where after I do a bunch of troubleshooting, only to find out that it's somebody else's fault, I get even more frustrated because I did all of this troubleshooting for something that I can't control.
Like with buffer bloat.
Well, I mean, I eventually came to that conclusion. I mean, admittedly, the buffer bloat, I was able to reduce it from 1.5 down to, I think, like, what was it? 1.5K millisecond buffer bloat down to like 400.
I wonder what mine is. I don't think I've tested mine in a while.
Yeah, and actually, the little Netgear switch that I'm using now doesn't even fully support the bandwidth. Like, my desktop is now seeing 450 down, which is significantly better than the 200 down. But it's definitely not the 900 that my server's seeing, which I guess is fine, but whatever. It's still frustrating. And I could just bypass it and just use Wi-Fi for everything else, but that's annoying. Yeah. No. In other news, since FrickFrock isn't here, somebody on the 9th posted a compilation video of all of the secret endings of FrickFrock's episodes.
And ordered them into a coherent video, which is
3.5 minutes long.
Surprising given the source material.
Yeah, they're only like 2-second clips usually.
Oh, yeah.
Frickfrock's videos are some of my favorite videos, but they also are some of the most uncomfortable because he never cleans that freaking tablecloth.
Yeah. Also his thumbs.
Oh, no. The thumbs I've accepted at this point.
I mean, I guess to be fair, it's kind of like you. It's like, yes, another horrible freak.
Okay, listen. Going wall-eyed on command is a special talent.
Oh, okay. That's what we're calling it, huh?
Right, boys. It's
Are you gonna bail?
Yeah, I mean, I've done I've done my searching on eBay. I have my components at the ready. Realized that I'm going to stick with the P106 90 cards, which is basically the 1060. Now you can get the P106 100s, which I think. So the P106 90 cards. So the P106 90s have like 768 CUDA cores, and the P106 100, which is essentially the variant up from it with 6 gig of RAM, has 1,200 and whatever CUDA cores. The problem is, the problem is the P106 100 cards are like really hard to find.
I wouldn't be too concerned. Remember, you're going to be using like you're going to be bottlenecking the bandwidth, so you're going to be losing performance. So the P106 100, basically a 6 gig 1060. P106 90, I think that's a 1050 Ti equivalent. Hang on.
No, that's a 1060 3 gig from my research.
No, 768 CUDA cores. It is, yeah, that's a 1050 Ti, like that amount of cores.
I'm being lied to.
Yeah, it's only it's a wider bus though, so.
I was gonna say, if you have the chip name, I would just recommend doing the research on the chip itself rather than trusting what the vendors.
Yeah, they lie a lot. You can buy like 4 gig DDR3 780s off eBay.
See, I wouldn't even classify it as lying a lot. I think they just don't know, and they're just regurgitating what somebody else posted.
This gets me search engine optimizations or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think.
Let's check the prices on those. Didn't AMD make one with Polaris?
I don't. No,
it was like a similar card, no video outputs. Hang on, AMD mining GPU, no video out.
If I can get an AMD one that's equal to the performance for around the same price or cheaper, then I'll go with that one. But I've only really been looking at the NVIDIA cards at the moment.
Oh, mining RX 460. Let's see, RX 470. Sorry. RX
yeah, well, and at that point, a 470 doesn't compete with a 1060. So.
I don't think that was an AMD thing. I think that was a bunch of I think there was a few vendors made some. Asus appears to have made one, and I guess Sapphire. Oh, these actually do have video outputs though. I think they have one.
See, that makes more sense to me than one that they just straight up did not solder on a connector.
Hey, no, this is just a regular old GPU. They overclocked the memory a bit, over reference, and they swapped. They added a DVI port. Sorry, but it appears to still have the others.
So
I'm so confused. That's so strange.
So surely that's an inferior card to the 10. The 10.
Oh yeah, probably.
Even the
maybe so, but don't call me Shirley.
That's so strange. Also, the fact that it's only a 4 gig card. Yeah, I mean, like if you're doing compute, CUDA's probably the way to go. Like, yeah, I just go NVIDIA.
I mean, just from pure name, a 470 does not compete with the 1060. So,
the one that Kim is getting is more like a 1050 Ti. So they're going to be trading blows.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, because I think the best mining card of all time was by far the Fury Nano.
Yeah,
it had the same performance of a Fury at, I think, what was it, 2 fits or 3 fits the power draw?
Mm.
I mean,
no, it was about half. It was about half, like 90% the performance, 50% the power.
And I love the Fury Nano. I got one, but the only way I was able to get one was after the first mining boom.
Okay, from South Korea, $145 shipping, a 40 pack of P106 GPUs. Hey Kim, can you get this one?
Hell yeah.
We're gonna do a group buy, baby.
The thing is, you can that card. If I was to get a singular one here on eBay in the UK, you can get them for about £50 each, which is like bugger all.
Actually, so what does that work out to per card? 1420. That's almost the weed number. So 1420 plus 145 divided by 40. $40 a card.
Oh yeah, that's totally
that's not bad. I don't think you can actually mine ether on these anymore, because one of the things with ether was that the VRAM requirement, like in terms of capacity, not even bandwidth, the VRAM capacity was such that, like, I think 3 gig cards became unusable at some point, and then shortly thereafter 4 gig cards became unusable. So now you can do it on like a 1060 or a 480 at the minimum with the extra VRAM. So like everybody who bought these 3 gig 106s for ether mining, it sucks to be you, dude. You didn't get your money back.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably just stick with these cards. Like 6 of these will see me happy. Plus, it's fairly
These
expensive.
are much less expensive, or much less common in America. Although there's 5 listings in America, there appear to be a bunch more internationally. Let's see, $20 out 4 parts.
Since we are talking about folding stuff, so I wanted to make an observation, because I was doing some digging the other day, and I remembered that my username that I'm using for folding is one of the folding coin usernames. And so I decided to do some research and see how much folding coin I had. I have about $60 worth at this point, which is nice.
Nice.
There are currently no active exchanges that are accepting the trade of floating coin.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find what it is, because I know there was on OCN there was a thread resurgence of the folding coin thread, because people were like, "Oh, hey, people are using these weird long usernames. What's going on with that?" And yeah. I need to post in there that I have no idea how to get rid of these now.
I have to admit, right, when I saw your name come up on the spreadsheet, I was like, dude, why have you done that? I thought you just like randomly put a load of crap up your name.
No, because my Simmons 572 just standard folding username has 750 million points on it now, and I think my folding coin username has about 700 or 650 million points at this point. So like that's, I mean, the points are still going to the same place. However,
Simmons, if instead of folding points that was money, you could be doing something with your life.
What are you talking about? I don't have to actively focus on my mining card or my folding cards in order to do stuff. Oh, are they folding? Oh, they're not. Okay, restart the systems. Move on.
Yeah, that's not what I did when I was folding.
Jack, tell us about the 1800X.
Oh no! I don't. Oh
Yeah,
no! That was a bad time.
It was only a bad time because you guys had the core limit.
Oh
You
yeah.
had the core limit on the competition, and I could only use a certain amount of cores or threads, whatever.
Yeah, we were capped to.
Oh, that's
14
right.
it was like 12 or 14 threads or something.
It was
like
12.
That. Oh, Jack. You did so much work on that too. No, Kim, you don't understand. He built a custom Linux kernel for this.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I had a custom Linux kernel, and then I would always SSH into it to manually set the affinity of the process in Linux to only go to certain cores. It was a time.
No. Oh.
So wait, so wait a minute. So what went wrong with it?
No, it was just the sheer amount of time that was dumped into it, because the biggest issue is he had to manually assign core affinity to these processes.
Jack's brain is dangerous.
No, Cynical, shut up.
But yeah.
No, he had to manually assign the core affinity for these processes, right? But the way that folding at home works, because everything uses a different run clone gen for each of these distributed work units, it has a different process hash for every single one.
Yeah, and I couldn't automate it. I couldn't do anything about it. And the only reason I was doing this is because I found out by being curious and messing around with Affinity that if I just let it do whatever it wants, like either in Windows or in Linux with the affinities, that it would be lower. And I wanted to friggin' win. So I would have to do this every single work unit.
Oh, no. That's not.
Oh yeah, no. He by far was the hardest CPU folder that we've ever had in the team competition.
Thank you.
Jeez.
Thank you for your service.
Fuck off.
I hear it's all about ExtremeHW anyway, so yeah, forget about OCN.
Yeah, no. I hate to admit it, but the TC's dead. Like, there's nothing that's going to bring it back at this point.
Oh yeah, I've still got my 780 crunching away at it, and I need to switch it over to EHW. I just haven't thought about it.
Well, no, and I only say that because there's no incentive to fold for OCN anymore.
Yeah,
true.
I mean, as selfish as that sounds, yeah. I would probably be folding, or if not folding, then running Boink or something, even if like the team comp weren't going on. But like, yeah, I mean, the fact that there's no incentive means what's the point of doing the team? What's the point of even like caring about it?
For me, those team competitions drove me. I loved doing them, and like in my off times, I wouldn't really fold that much. I wouldn't really care about it that much if there wasn't a competition going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I mean, like, okay, so incentives to you with respects to folding, aside from the whole humanitarian aspect, is obviously like the competitions, like like cash prizes and
money.
Whatnot.
Well, it's not even money, not even prizes. It's literally just give me a score, a listing of a scoreboard, and if there's a way I could be at the top of it, I want to be at the top of it.
Well,
give me a scoreboard and let me min max.
So it's basically, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's basically number reaping.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
No, that's exactly what it was, because back before OCN was essentially killed by the corporation, we had a very active I would say that the folding forum was the most active forum next to the mouse forum and the news forum.
Oh, let me tell you.
No, and take that for what it is, right? Like, and I'm not counting Off Topic, because obviously Off Topic was its own special group, which was basically just us.
Very special.
But like the folding forum and the Boink forum really had their own thing going with the
wasn't OCN like number 2 in the world?
Yes,
the folding team.
Yeah,
it was at one point.
Yeah,
who was ahead of us?
It's still the number 1 team. It is.
Curecoin doesn't count. Curecoin does not count.
No, it was always back in the day when I cared about folding on OCN. It was always EVGA were the ones we were trying to beat.
Yeah, it was EVGA was the big one, and then
Hard OCP maybe.
I think it was Hard OCP. We were always kind of like neck and neck with. I thought
we were ahead of Hard OCP in about. I think we finally surpassed them in 2016.
That makes sense, because that's about back when I was kind of doing stuff. I guess.
Well, that was when I got moved into an editor role, right? So
yeah.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, the good thing is, with respect to folding on EHW, so I'm working with Axifer and my site developer in the coming, weeks once I finish the current phase of developments. So the site's going to have its own dedicated folding at home statistics platform.
Sweet.
With all the points, all the boards, graphs, all that nice shit.
Oh, show me the graphs.
Basically, because why not? And I mean, OCN never had a dedicated one. I mean, I know obviously Axifer kind of has his own site, and he's done a fantastic job with that. So that's kind of why I've kind of rung him into the gang, so that he can kind of help out with kind of some of the technical bits and pieces.
He has some kind of like knowledge, because I've tried to reverse engineer how he did that, and I can't figure out how he did that.
So, I mean, we actually talked with him a couple weeks ago when he was on the podcast, and he basically said that he taught himself MySQL on his own as he was trying to build the stat site.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And like the original, like the OCN site's kind of crippled right now due to
everything.
Everything.
Well, no. The OCN stat site was crippled because I think the system formatted itself, and when he tried to restore it, it was broken. And he said that the original rendition of the folding stat site, which was the active folding site or folding stat site, it's basically dead now. And he's been trying to fix it. And he actually just recently had a breakthrough with integration with Google Docs that has fixed it. So users can now sign up again. And I need to make an announcement over there because the foldathon's tomorrow. Oh boy. And for those folks who are actually excited about doing that, I want to make sure that I'm supporting them. That's my big drive to keep supporting this. But like going back to what I wanted to say before was a lot of the incentive was lost when a lot of the people left. Like my favorite thing about the team competition was all the different little teams that we had that were constantly fighting and helping each other just for fun, you know, like Jack doing his Linux kernel optimizations and
Jack
straight
just
up
being Jack.
no, straight up masochistic to the extreme tweaking, which was stuff that I talked with a bunch of the other team leads at the time about this, and they kind of lost their minds, but they never like publicly voiced it. When they were like, holy shit, somebody's actually doing this, and this is actually really significant. What the hell? And we lost a lot of that when a lot of the users. So my hope is that EHW just brings in that crazy sadistic user base again that gets this kind of silly competition going again, because you know a lot of my stuff that I've done on the networking side has been from, hey, I wonder if I can break it this way and let's see if it works.
God, one of the things that's just like really bugged me about the web, and OCN kind of lost it with Wikia, but I don't know, that at least as a user at the time, that seemed smooth enough. But like once Vertical Scope bought it out, it was just like, this is very much a corporate website now. And there's just something about like the old Wild West of the web that we've just kind of lost now that like nobody really has their own like personal little blog anymore. Like even like WordPress or Blogger or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, I write posts on Medium and Twitter. It's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. We talked about that with Discords and stuff. There's like all this hidden knowledge in all of these Discords that people aren't in.
Yeah, that's just that really irks me especially. And the thing about it is, even though the internet is permanent, like anything that is on the internet can, in theory, be preserved indefinitely. But because of things like lossy compression algorithms, sites going down, corporate takeovers, all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, hell, like that's what I meant with the SSD, right? The software the cache software that you'd use it with went away. Samsung bought it, went away forever. And we're just losing like all of this stuff, and it's being so sanitized and homogenized, and it's just so sad.
Yes.
It is a kind of like a continuous war. I mean, you know, you get the kind of naysayers are like, oh man, forums have lost their traction. And I suppose, again, it always comes down to how you're running that forum. And I think the other thing is also kind of staying up to date. I think if you've just got a forum that's just a static forum and has
nobody's going to want that.
No way to integrate it with any of the, dare I say it, social media, or other platforms such as Discord, then you've not really got this kind of unified central place for information.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mean that in the sense of like the new stuff is bad. It's just the new stuff is replacing the old stuff. Like the new stuff is not coexisting with it, and
it should all be supplemental and interconnected.
Yeah.
That's internet. Come on.
Yeah,
the internetwork.
And that's exactly right. I mean, my general ethos. I mean, and it was the same with OCN to a degree before it got bulldozed.
Before it got libel.
But
Can't say that.
The thing is, though, is Yeah, I mean, obviously the forum for me is obviously always going to be the central point of information, the features and the fun of it, whatever kind of comes into. Of course, you're always going to have your social media stuff because you can't really live without it, when it comes from a promotional standpoint. And, things like Discord, as you say, like supplemental stuff, it's definitely got its
Discord is a chat room. Like, I mean, a lot of websites do have their own chat rooms. I can think of plenty of them from decade before last now, where it's like, hey, we got a new chat room now. It's like you click it, it's just a web page with like this IRC thing. We're not. It doesn't officially exist anymore, but hey, if you're a member, I've tried to bring up in the extras.
I've tried to bring back a lot of that stuff. You've known my struggles with the Silicon Gang and the Chip Collective. I tried to.
Gosh, yeah. That's a shit show because they're all a bunch of Reddit jannies. But yeah.
Yeah, I tried to make an IRC because people didn't like Discord, but they liked Discord. I tried to make. I was like experimenting on my own computer, like making like a Chan image board because that kind of makes sense. A Chan image board makes sense. And then I wanted to make a forum. And then when I was finally good with the Discord, I was just like, here, I'm going to make channels for everything. And no one liked that because they don't like organization.
You made channels for everything. I think was the problem.
Yeah, and then
I don't know. I think the approach to that might be wrong then because it's a chat room, right? The topic's going to drift. Whereas like with a forum, you can have lots and lots of categories because, well, the topic's fixed. Like it's never going to move. You're never going to deviate from that one topic. I don't know.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
It's always going to be hard to keep 100% of the audience attracted.
Well, you can't. It's impossible.
Exactly. So it's always going to be a struggle. I mean, for instance, one of the developments coming up for the site is, for better or worse, some people hate it, some people will like it. I know I've obviously got our Discord, but I'm looking to implement like a feature-full, proper instant messaging service on the site, as opposed to kind of going off-site for it, because there are some people out there who don't have any love for Discord or anything else, and they're happy to use like a.
And frankly, it is good to have a first-party platform that you run, that you control, that you like. I mean, it's kind of like how Discord's replaced TeamSpeak in a lot of respects. Even though, well, you can run your own TeamSpeak server, you can run your own Mumble server, you can run,
But what I will say about the TeamSpeak, because I still host my own TeamSpeak for a personal gamer group that I've got, and it's only there as a fallback for when Discord eventually goes down, because it does do that from time to time. Like that's the entire point. It's a failback. However, I did want to make a quick aside, because I was actually kind of surprised when you said you were implementing an IM system after the big incident on OCN several years ago.
Yeah, that's the one that I didn't want to reference.
I'm only going to go that far.
I mean, generally speaking, what I'm going to have written up, by a legal team is basically to kind of say, the platform's there, but basically your opinions or whatever you say don't reflect what we might be thinking or agreeing with, so that all that kind
I guess you'd have to talk to a lawyer. So I'm kind of curious. I don't know if this is a question you even want to answer, but like, how frequently do you need legal advice, especially since you're based out of the UK, right? And you've got like GDPR and such. Well, do you? That's European Unions, but God, I don't even know.
So, I mean, aside from the kind of terms and service and the privacy stuff, so I went through solicitors or lawyers, as you call them. I went through that with them to make sure that was, pretty airtight, and they were happy with it. So far as GDPR, again, you're only really. So, for instance, if a user says to me, "Hey, man, I have the right to be forgotten," that's only so true. You've got about the right to be anonymized, not essentially forgotten. So, like, we don't have to like wipe a user clean off the site.
Which is probably good because that's just a lot of knowledge that's lost. But then at the same time, I don't know.
Well, but then there's also legalities, because if somebody does something illegal and they say, "Hey, I'm ready to enact my,"
I'm going to do crimes.
I'm going to do crimes, and now I want to be deleted. Well, no, that doesn't really work.
Yeah, I mean, we've only really speaking the only real responsibility we have with regards to anonymizing the account is obviously changing the username, wiping the password or putting a completely random generated one in there that no one's going to really know, and wiping any kind of personally identifiable information, which can be difficult in some instances.
Does changing the username actually do anything? Because if you just change it, then all posts are still linked to that one account. I would think that the way you would want to do it is just have a generic deleted user type role. So like all deleted users show up this way.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if I remember rightly, yes, you can do that with the new vBulletin platform. You can kind of set it to so any like banned accounts or anonymized accounts just default to, I don't know, like an account called user or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't even mean that as a technical sense. I just mean that for like anonymizing people.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's with the whole GDPR, blow up. It's always a concern, and it's always a bit of a headache, and you wonder if you're going to get like a letter in the mail saying, "Hey man, you didn't do what I said, so I'm suing you," and you're like, "Well, okay." So that can be a bit of a bummer, and it's the kind of risk you take when you're running any service that collects any personal identifiable information, which is actually quite a lot when you look at the list of what is considered.
Yeah, no, I remember from Tom Scott did a video on Emojli, which was basically Twitter, but you can only use emojis. Those are the only characters allowed, including in your username. I'm not sure about passwords. I would hope not. But
oh god, that'd be awful.
But anyway, like he was like doing some stuff. He was setting up like forms when registering this, like actually doing it through proper channels with the government and whatnot. And one of the questions was, is there, personally identifiable information on this platform? And he initially said no, but then he thought about it and he realized, well, somebody could, for example, have an emoji of like two men holding hands, or hell, you could just like reveal your sex pretty easily. But like you could have an emoji of two men holding hands, and that might indicate, well, hey, you're gay, and then you don't necessarily want that to be there indefinitely because, well, that's still stigmatized in society, and it got kind of messy.
PII is just a massive slippery slope.
Yeah, slippery slopes.
I think the thing is with the PII stuff is, even though there's like a list of the kind of do's and don'ts, and there's a lot of grey areas. In fact, I'm going to say about 95% of it is a grey area.
Honestly, like it's not very well trodden ground. There's not a whole lot of case law either.
And the thing is, I think it's going to come down to a lot of logic. If someone comes up to you and says, "Look, I'm suing you over this," and it went to court, I reckon most of the time a judge is going to go, "Well, no, let's use a bit of common sense here," and the case would probably get thrown out. But I think it comes down to a lot of common sense. I don't think, because there's not a lot of case law there, as you say, I don't think any judge is going to like read the letter of the law and take it literally.
Depends on how much money the plaintiff's got, but
Well, yeah. It depends. Again, it depends on the case. There's so many factors, so I tend just to not think about it.
Yep, that's kind of why I never ever wanted to host anything with comments or users or registration or posts.
Yeah, just let the tweets handle that.
Well, I mean, honestly, and that's, I think, one of the beauties of the Chip Collective is the fact that anything has to be vetted through you anyway. That helps out a lot.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Jack's process for vetting is okie doke.
Well,
pretty much. I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah, it's technically Jack is a dictator as far as this goes. Realistically, It's extremely democratized. Like, Jack doesn't care.
It's extremely democratized because I could be doing a whole lot more if somebody like has an article that they want to put up on the website. It's like I could put it through a service that makes sure that you didn't copy this from someplace, and I don't do shit. I just make sure that it's formatted right. I make the markdown for the article. I optimize the images, or I make the images for the graphs, and then I post it. That's all I do. And then I make a little user thing for you to say that you wrote this.
Yeah.
And it is kind of democratized in that how many times have I linked people exactly to a zip file of the entire website, and I was like, here, you do this.
Yeah, I think I've got a copy from oh gosh, I don't even know how long ago. It's outdated now, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely, probably.
Yeah, God, I need to set up my own website at some point. I got the Project Computer Squared thing finished, so I've got the Hummingbird set up, but I haven't touched it since November. So
yeah, making your own website for doing like what I did with the Chip Collective. It's it doesn't really take that much.
Yeah, I mean, I want it to be well, not entirely static. I do have PHP installed because I want to have a CSS style switcher. So like, you click a drop down, it's like, here's your dark theme, here's your light theme, here's your planet side theme, here's like ease of access theme with like larger font or something. Because I was looking into color blindness and dyslexia and trying to figure out like, hey, what are good ways to make an accessible website for people with these issues? Because that's important and should be emphasized more. Just doing that kind of stuff, but I have not worked on that in a while either because I got the big sad.
Are you actually like using a framework of any sort? Or are you using a thing, or you're just doing it all yourself?
I'm using Notepad++, and I learned PHP from Codecademy, and
okay, so you're making every single page and every single reference to other pages and back and forth all manually.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wish you luck.
Yeah, I will simply not do link rot. I mean, it's not like I can't do like shell scripts or something to keep things.
Just use Hugo like I am.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, like a basic web manager. I thought you meant like WordPress or something like that. Yeah,
no, I don't even use a web manager. I just use Visual Studio Code.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, and then I just upload it to the thing. Netlify builds the website, and then it's updated. Done.
Yeah, all right.
I just put a markdown file in a folder called posts.
I was just going to ask, like, obviously developing something literally from scratch. Obviously, you have full control over everything, which is obviously great. Obviously, the downside is the time.
You have to do work that everybody has already done.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's obviously where things and frameworks like WordPress come in, but I can understand why people still do it from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, especially there's a guy on Twitter I follow. What did he say? He said like, lots of these little web builders, it's like they have these cool widgets, and then if you want to go off the beaten path where it's like, okay, well, I don't want this font to be this color red, I want it to be this slightly different color red, but it only gives you like a swatch of maybe 8 different colors you can choose from. And it's like, well, so I opened this up in a text editor, and then I changed a line, and then I got like the file became 10 megabytes and it stopped loading and everything is in the wrong place and I don't know what happened. Why do people use these? Granted, he was exaggerating, but the point is that like those things are so bloated and there's no reason for it to be because in so many cases they're just static pages.
See, I've always wondered how like what's that one? The one big advertising site. It's Squarespace because one of their key advertising points is if you want to go full custom, you have the ability to do so. I wonder what that means, like in the fullest extent. Like how in depth can you actually go?
Well, you can just use your own HTML files and CSS files and your JS files, and it'll work. It'll work, lads.
There's no such thing as full custom. Not when you're working with a an already implemented framework. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's kind of my concern. It's
A
like,
web server with arbitrary code execution. Oh, Kim, you should add that to ExtremeHW.
No.
Oh God! Remember when LCN transitioned and you could just use script tags in your signature and just run JavaScript?
Chris,
no, it's fine.
You were the one who did that.
Well, yeah, I know. I discovered it and I reported it responsibly because if I were malicious, I would have had it mining Bitcoin.
No, I distinctly remember when you discovered that because it was like, hey Simmons, I did a thing. I was like, what did I do? I modified my signature to crash my web browser.
So the first thing that I did was I thought it would be funny to add a marquee to my signature to have scrolling text because, hey, that's funny. And that worked. And then I thought, hang on, this is HTML. There are other tags that I can use. What if I try an iframe so I can put a website on my website? And that worked. And then I think the only one that I actually made go live was the marquee. I only previewed these ones. And then I thought, oh shit, what if I tried a script tag? And it worked. And I got JavaScript. And then I told it to somebody else, and who is trustworthy. I told him hey, so I can just do this now. What do I do? So he gave me this code to autoplay a video in my signature with audio and everything. It's like, all right, let's see if it works. Previewed the changes, and yep, it worked.
Oh, man, I tell you what, when it comes to running,
and now you can't use JavaScript in your signature.
Well, yeah. When it comes to running anything websites or especially forum sites,
sanitize your user inputs and assume they're malicious.
Yeah, basically, honestly, everything in the back end is virtually locked down. Hence the existence of BB code.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess so.
HTML is fantastic, but evil.
HTML is fantastic if you're a developer and if you're a hacker.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's also why you got to be really careful with database queries. That's also why there are some things that can just straight up crash web browsers because, it is input that people never thought to sanitize. When it runs, it just explodes.
See, that reminds me. I remember at some point, I think somebody was giving a presentation on SQL and how you can break SQL and how not to implement SQL. And if I'm remembering this correctly, the way the web page queried the SQL database was in the URL bar.
Oof.
Oh dear.
So I'm sure you can imagine how that goes.
Right. Well, I'm probably gonna shoot
kept you too long
because of the time.
All right.
But stay tuned. Got a few. I'll make a post in the next few days, just detailing all the extra bits and pieces coming to the site, which will also include obviously the folding kind of platform. Because obviously wanted to kind of make it a main thing on the site because it's always been kind of I say passion of mine. That'd be wrong because I've not always been an avid folder, but it is
that's okay.
It is important to myself for
Simmons,
reasons.
Simmons, have you introduced him to our Lord and Savior folding at home?
I think he's already well introduced since he's talking with Expert.
I am
right.
But so that will all be coming soon because, as you say, it's not always about the prizes and whatever. It'd just be nice to get a good set of people competing, just for sheer EPing really. And we all know numbers and graphs helps with the EPing growth.
Yeah, I was gonna say. When the only expertise I have on folding backend at this point is I was working with Blady on redoing the OCMP database, and
whatever happened to Blade?
He's still around, but he's just busy with life, and he doesn't have as much interest in OCN anymore. So,
golly, have you converted him to EHW?
I haven't talked with him in months, so no.
Let's try to convert him to EHW.
You never tried to convert me.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Consider
Jack, have you heard about our Lord and Savior EHW?
Yeah, I'll register an account today.
Oh, okay. I should probably post on the site. I haven't thought about it.
Well,
It's
okay.
the big sad. That's my excuse for everything, but this time it's valid.
No, just so we don't keep Kim too long. What I will say is, so we do actually have a working a copy of the database, and we were working on a proper way to do mass uploads. Since with HFM, you can get the CSV dumps of all of your work units. So for people who did have hundreds of submissions, it's really painful to use the one submission at a time entry system. So we do have a way to do that, but it's all through manual intervention at this point. I'd be totally willing to strike up a conversation with you on how that works and how it looks in its current state if we want to try to stand up something like that on EHW.
Sorry, just cycling back, because I think I just got a bit distracted. Sorry, the system that you're talking about does what?
Oh, it's the PPD database on OCN.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because as of right now, you can only for a standard user, you can only submit one work unit at a time, and for people who are actually tracking their work unit history, the last time I did an upload, I had about 1,500 entries to do, and I worked with Blady on working on a mass upload system. So I'll talk with you some other time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, once the kind of like the base platform is in place, then it's going to be something that we're probably always going to kind of expand on,
optimize,
optimize it, expand on it, get new ideas, and add to it to the point where we might as well just call the site folding at home.
Hey, I'm down.
Sounds good.
Yeah, same.
All right, guys. Well, stay tuned. I'll have some more news on those bits and pieces, but I'm going to go to bed now because it's about 3:00 in the morning.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's only 10 and I'm exhausted. Or maybe it's later than that and my clock's wrong.
No, it's 8:52 here, so it's
okay.
9
It's 10. Why am I so tired? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you. I'll probably talk to you, Simmons, tomorrow a bit more about dedicated folding.
Yeah.
But yeah, peace out.
All right, later, dude.
Later.
See ya.